African Bass Masterclass. My name's Edd Bateman. Joining us on drum kit from Senegal, Mr. Matar Ndiongue. This is part of the course, the African Bass Masterclass Part 1. I'm also going to put this lesson as a preview on YouTube. And I want to say sorry for how long it's taken for me to get any new content out there for you guys. I've been busy developing an entire new website, theworldmusicmethod.com. It's a new site dedicated to teaching African, South American, Middle Eastern, Indian music, guitar, bass, drum lessons, all kinds of interesting new resources. So get on over and check out worldmusicmethod.com. What I want to do now is just to show you the difference between Western pop bass lines that everyone should be familiar with and African bass lines, to show really what makes it sound African. I'm going to take the three of the most famous pop bass lines of all time by Michael Jackson, the Beatles and Queen, and translate those into African grooves and break down how that all happens. So any bass player that's ever played a wedding function gig should be familiar with this line, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. It's used straight eighths. It's not African at all. Yeah. We're just playing quavers, okay? There's no syncopation, so to hear how this bass line would sound with the Afro-Caribbean groove Zouk, Matar, give us a roll, take us to the rhythm. So, I've not changed melodically any of the notes that I was playing before, but I've not changed what I play on beat 2 and beat 4, but just syncopated beat 1 by moving those two quavers, semi-quaver ahead. Now it's all about semi-quavers or 16th notes. That's what gives the bounce, these syncopations, depending on where in the bar you play the note, that's how you can make a groove African. Or I can add in some extra notes, double note there and there. For a bit of articulation, I can slide up to that F sharp. Maybe not every time, just for a bit of flavour. Now here it is straight, not syncopated at all, not African, no bounce. Now it fits with the drum kit, so if we think about what the drums are doing, he's got the kick on 1, 2, 3 and 4 to the floor, and the snare playing da 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 on the rim shot. So this style, although it came originally from the Caribbean, very popular in Congo, they use it a lot. Very common to use it for a vocal section. You also find it in kizomba. Very steady, straight ahead dancing groove. And with the guitar, you see he's still got the same chords as Billie Jean, but they're pushed. They come before the beat. They come on at the end of the bar. Similar to calypso, also Caribbean. Now, if I was going to play real deep Zouk, I would probably simplify this bass line. It might not need anything more than that to work. everyone should recognise this bass line by the Beatles, Come Together, from their Abbey Road album. Now this bass line is 50 years old, still a classic. It's got 4 quavers, the last one's held or tied, and it's got a crotchet on beat 4, okay? And that slide up to the A, very prominent. Okay, Matar's going to take us to the 7 on the snare, and we'll see how this bass line sounds in a Congolese style. So I'm just using those 8th notes and adding a 16th on the of beat 1, and I've moved the last note of the original Beatles bass line, that high D, to beat 4 and instead of 4, beat 4, just to give it a bit more of a bounce. And this contrast of low and high notes is very common in Congolese music, this low, high, that kind of thing. Really gives it a bounce. Now if I remove the 16th notes, doesn't really have that bounce. You know, if you want to make people dance, it is all about that bounce. Those 16ths, those semi-quavers. Now on my right hand, this is a Congolese style of playing using the thumb on the low notes. Now, throughout the course we will be covering this thumb technique. Now the reason they do this, they prefer the tone using the thumb on the low strings. It sounds a little bit fatter. I mean, if you've never played in this style, then it will take a bit of time to build up that technique before you notice any difference in tone. But that's something we're going to be covering. The real old school purist Congolese way would also be using the thumb of the left hand, like this. And actually muting the low D. Trying to make it sound like a kick drum. Now personally, you know, each their own. I feel that if you've already got a kick drum sound, although it's good to emphasize that, you don't need to make the bass sound like a kick drum. You know, one of the first rules of mixing audio, you would try and separate the kick drum and the bass guitar, separate the frequency ranges so they can both be heard. And also, if you are like this, you've not got the 1 finger per fret range. Now this is a dance section. You can hear Matar is playing strong kick drum on 4 to the floor, and he's got his rhythm on the snare. He's using ghost notes and he's accenting a really dancey groove. Now this part of the song will be called the Sebene, because the guitar's high, the bass is high, the drums are on the snare. There's not much frequency range space for a vocal melody to sit. So a singer would just be doing something called atalako or noise man. It's kind of just about adding how we say, something very rhythmic with the voice. Like if you imagine, if you remember Public Enemy, you've got Chuck D rapping and then Flavour Flav there, just throwing in some short, dynamic, rhythmic lines, you know, short staccato lines, just adds energy. Give you an example of that, we'll overdub something that fits over this track. Okay, let's move on to to the next bass line. Okay, you know this bass line. Under Pressure by Queen. Another classic. Now, this bass line, played by John Deacon, it's kind of just pedaling. Very simple, very effective pop bass line, just root and fifth. And he's pedaling that while the chords move around him. Genius bass playing work. If you don't need to change, don't. Let the guitarist or the piano player do the work. So, this one we're going to make a bit more tricky. Matar's going to give us a roll, and we're going to see how this bass line sounds in the Senegalese, southern Senegalese style, Bougouribou. Okay, Matar, take it away. It's a 6/8 rhythm, but we don't need to complicate that. The way to feel it is just 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm playing the exact same notes as before, but I didn't really feel that the beat 1 is so necessary to emphasize. Now, having that syncopation, like I said before, that's what makes it African. Now the guitar is going to move to a more Senegalese style chord progression, just using D major, A major. As I said before, or as I said a lot through these courses, what I really like is playing a symmetrical bass line. So keep the rhythm as similar as possible over different chords, and just change the minimum amount of notes melodically to fit the harmony of the new chord. So I'm just playing D, A, E, A like that. Six/8 bass line, bass playing, it always gives a very rolling kind of sound. Remember, African bass lines, so much about chord tones. I could do a descending line with loads of space. You hear how instantly Matar's drumming responds to that space. I could play it down an octave, or a combination of the two, with a little linking phrase. Something like that. Something a bit higher like that. Again, I'm just changing the minimum amount of notes that I can to make it fit harmonically over both chords. Oops. Sometimes when you're experimenting, lines will come out you don't like. It's okay, just don't play them again. Now we're going to cover all this through the course. 6/8, 4/4, a lot of Congolese music, Senegal, Afrobeat, loads of stuff. But what I find it very interesting is how so many different countries in Africa have a national genre that is in 4/4 and one that's in 6/8. It fascinates me in how people all over the world, different cultures, different ethnic groups, use the same time signatures for their traditional music. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently, but got me thinking that if you let's say you're walking down the street, 2 feet, you'd go left, right, left, right, left, right. You'd be walking in 4/4 time. If your feet were going 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you sing anything while you're walking at a steady pace, you'd be singing in 4/4. And the sound of the healthy human heartbeat is a swung quaver often. So swung quaver is beat 1 and beat 3 of a triplet. So that's where the essence of all these 6/8, 12/8 triplet feel rhythms come from. So maybe it's just something built in, but what confused me is how, over in the Balkan countries, Macedonia, Bulgaria, places like that, they've got traditional music that's not in 4/4, 6/8. It's 7/8, 9/8, 11/8. If anyone has any idea where these genres come from, where these time signatures, where they inherently might be built from, please stick a comment below. It'd be something I'm very, very interested in finding out. Very interested in researching.